Let me give a brief introduction. My name is Jeremy Gledhill. I have been at Newdon for about 4 years. Who have I worked with here? Hands up high.
We worked with Stevie.
That's right. We ate some delicious food. I've been at Newdon for 4 years. I started in support, so I worked in support for about 1.5 years, finishing my degree here at USU. And then I got hired into account management with Ben Stocks. Who's worked with Ben Stocks? Okay, same people. So account management, we do a lot of training. We travel around, do lots of training. We were in Oklahoma most recently, which was awesome. They had a training conference out there. And we do a lot of proactive support. So some of you may hear, as administrators, or at least people with administrative access, and in the future, because we like to just call people sometimes and say, how is JusticeWeb? You know, instead of you guys calling us and saying, there's a problem, you know. Sometimes it's good to be somewhat proactive, and we're trying to increase how often we reach out to our customers. We know that training can sometimes be an issue because of turnover and time constraints, so it's great that you're all here. We're trying to do webinars, videos online. It's kind of our forward-thinking goal. So if you go to our YouTube channel, I'm sure you'll see emails after training conference with these videos that they're making. We'll try to post a lot of training and stuff to keep this going, because everyone always leaves here with a fire, it seems like. We're going to do this and this and this. And then suddenly you have like some huge caseload and you're like, okay, never mind. I can't do any of that because I have a job to do. So hopefully you can, slowly increase your JustWeb use. So I'm going to be sitting here for most of my presentation because I have to use my computer. I start up here because I want everyone to feel like you can raise your hand, ask questions. If you're sitting behind me, you may have to say, hey, I have a question. That's okay. The nice thing about this year, in comparison to last year, is we have 90 minutes instead of 60 minutes, which means we don't have to try to rush through all of our content. We can ask questions as we go, try to answer questions as we go, instead of saying, oh, we can't talk about that right now because we have to finish what we're training on. And if you ask about something that I'm going to be teaching about, and I haven't taught about it yet, I'll just say, shut up! I haven't gotten to it yet. And then, we might start crying, or I'll start crying, and I'll apologize, I'll feel bad.
But only for a minute.
Yeah, until the next time. Then you learn your lesson. No, feel free. You won't hurt my feelings. You won't throw me off my outline. I've got my outline on my iPad. I'm going to go through. If you've got questions along the way, I'll try to answer them as well as I can. Some of the questions will be probably answered by Jed. Who's gone to any of the other classes by Jed? All right, Jed's teaching e-payments, e-filing. Jed is a mastermind of JustWeb. Me and Jed probably have done the most implementations of JusticeWeb out of anyone at Newdon because we've just taken on those projects. So we've seen a lot of workflows, a lot of uses for JusticeWeb. I'm going to cover what we call public access, which basically just conglomerates e-view and e-discovery. So what does e-viewing mean? What does e-discovery mean? So me and Jed, you may have already seen these slides, these pretty beautiful slides, because I made them and that's why they're so pretty. So we have these pretty icons on our website that some person made, who knows who, about, we've got our e-view, e-discovery, e-payment, and e-filing. So we just do a brief introduction about JusticeWeb before we talk about our specific topics. We figured this would be a good starting point for people who don't own JusticeWeb. Who here doesn't have JusticeWeb? So most people. Who here does? You guys have it? Sweet. Good work. So JusticeWeb has been exploding in terms of functionality. Just within the last year, they have added 100% more functionality or more to JusticeWeb. And it continues to increase in functionality. As people are implementing it, we see gaps that can be filled. And we also, of course, see potential for JusticeWeb, so we're always adding more functionality. So when we talk about e-view, we basically just talk about people seeing case information, general information. When I say general, honestly, you can make whatever information you want available on the main screen. And reports. So e-viewing, we're going to talk a lot about making information available and making reports available together. E-filing, Jed, he teaches this class. Filing cases, this means starting cases actually right from JusticeWeb. So someone actually starts a case, they put in the defendant, they put in the charge, they put in the involvements, whatever. Whatever your workflow is, they can start cases from JusticeWeb. So police departments, or we have a well, we have a couple offices doing it in a variety of ways. I'm sure you can think of some if you guys have people filing cases. Uploading documents onto cases, so existing cases that exist. Existing cases that exist. That's a great redundancy department of being redundant. Upload documents onto cases, existing cases, and submitting case information, so adding additional case information, putting a note on a case, changing the status on a case, adding an event on a case, e-filing. E-discovery, we'll talk, I think we'll spend the majority of time talking about e-discovery and online documents together. Everything with JusticeWeb is involvement-based, and discovery is the same. So involvement-based means, how am I involved on the case? Am I involved as the prosecuting attorney? Am I involved as the police officer? Am I involved as a pro se defendant? Or, what is your involvement on the case? Your discovery can be involvement-based. The pricing can be involvement-based. What you see when you log into JusticeWeb is all involvement-based. So if I am a police officer and I log into JusticeWeb, I only see the option to view my upcoming court appearances. But if the prosecuting attorney logs into JusticeWeb, they have the option to submit documents and download discovery, etc. That's what I mean by involvement-based. Online documents is a step outside of e-discovery. So when we talk about discovery, we talk about making discovery packets, putting documents together into a package, and managing those discovery packets. Online documents is outside of that, just making documents available online. Then we have our document pricing rules, I mentioned that a second ago, and download tracking. So this is one of the big things with e-discovery is Mr. Attorney comes to your office and says, wait, no, I never got that discovery. And you look at JusticeWeb and you say, well, it says it was downloaded successfully on last Wednesday. So either you downloaded it or someone downloaded it with your credentials, but it got downloaded. So, you've got some ammunition there. E-payments, again, this is a class Jed is teaching. Public payments, which means your grandma can log in. Sometimes we call those anonymous payments. Someone can go on to JusticeWeb, pay your traffic ticket, or whoever wants to pay those fines for you. They just search for your case. Case payments would be more private payments, meaning you can log in, you can see what obligations you owe, you can pay those obligations off. Jed does a really great job of teaching this class if you're interested in how those payments work. Discovery payments, we'll talk about that together today, paying for discovery. If you remember John Peake's keynote, a lot of places don't allow for charging for this or that discovery, but we've seen kind of a shift in the ability to charge based on server requirements and whatever. So if you don't think that you can charge for discovery, they may pass something in the future that says you can, depending on your requirements. Request and filing fees. So we'll talk about what requests are in JusticeWeb and how you can tie a dollar amount to a request. So a request is pretty much any button that you can make in JusticeWeb. So you could charge, if you wanted to, a fee every time someone wants to add a note to a case. So I am attorney A, I want to submit a document or a note on a case. Will that cost $1 to do that? Again, you may not be able to do that, but that's just a use case. And filing fees as well, so e-payment. And that's it. So we've got we got the E's, electronic everything. And like I said, as we teach these things, you may see that there's functionality that's useful, some may not be as useful. We just try to teach everything that's available, and then you can pick and choose what you think is useful and not useful. And then if you've got questions, feel free to ask. So that's the end of my PowerPoint. So the class is done. No, I'm just kidding. Early lunch, yay, everyone! There's lots of seats if people want to sit down. Don't be awkward. I will make it awkward for you. Everyone look at who's coming in, so sit down.
Who was the little girl?
That's my little girl, Maddie. She's 2.5 years old. Yeah, she is. She's being potty trained right now, so we're kind of on a, I don't know what you'd say, on a roller coaster with her emotions.
get used to it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Having kids is always a roller coaster emotionally. All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about is e-discovery. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about e-discovery or just discovery from a JusticeWeb standpoint, and then how that discovery then links into JusticeWeb. So there's a few prerequisites for making discovery in JusticeWeb. Has anyone made discovery in JusticeWeb, and do you know what those kind of, I guess I would call prerequisites are?
You need to log in for discovery of the documents. Is a big one.
Yeah, there we go. So we've got packets, we've got documents. You've got to get your documents kind of prepped, if you want to call it prepping your documents for discovery. So the two prerequisites are creating a discovery packet type. So you're basically creating a folder that you're putting documents into. And you can create, different types of folders. So you can say, I've got discovery, I have medical documents, that's going to be your folder I'm going to be putting things in. This is outside of creating folders in the filing cabinet. This is the folder, the zip folder you're going to be sending off to someone and putting documents in there. So the two prerequisites are creating discovery documents and creating read-only documents. Read-only has replaced the three options we used to have. So this is 5.10, this is the latest version. In 5.9, you have the option to have your documents always unlocked. You can have it to be locked and unlocked, or you can have it locked. So before the upgrade to 5.10, you had to have your documents locked. Now we did away with all three options, and you have two options. It's either read-only or it's not read-only. And the reason they went that route is because that makes it more of a EDMS, whatever that stands for, Electronic Document Management System. Hey, I did it. It's more like that kind of a system where you don't expect people to be competing over documents or overriding each other's changes. It's very tight on making changes to existing documents. So let's first go through our prerequisites here. We go to System Administration, and some of you may have already set this up or may already be set up on your system. You'll be surprised if you get back and it's already set up. Go to Code Tables, go to JDA Applications and Documents. So we're going to the same place where we go to map our JDA documents. So when you've created a JDA document to make it available, our Documents section. So in JDA Applications and Documents, we're coming here to our Documents section. And just for seeing this, the first save, I'm regretting that I haven't made a save yet, because I know when I save it's going to be slow. The first save is always slow. All right, so if you notice here, I've got two file packet types, number 5. You need to have a file packet type to put documents into. So like I was saying, I've got two types here. Most places I see have one, just like discovery packets. You can try to organize it however you want. The whole point would be just to have a different organization depending on what types of packets you're going to be sending out if you want to separate them out. You can start simple, keep it simple, KISS it, that acronym, and then you can expand it out. So I've got two file packet types. They have to be read-only. With discovery, the development team designed it in a way where everything has to be read-only. You don't want to be sending a discovery package to someone and then have that document changed the next day in your filing cabinet, and then the documents aren't the same. So everything has to be read-only before documents can be sent out. Hi, Ben.
Hey, you good-looking man. You guys probably have the best-looking presenter at this conference, am I right?
Thanks, Ben. That's my boss. Make sure you say nice things to him about me. Or mean things. So we've got our file packet created. However many you want, I'd start with one, probably call it discovery packet. You'll see in a second how this plays into creating discovery. The next thing you need is at least a document type, a locked document type, or a read-only document type, depending on the version of JusticeWeb you're on. So if you're on 5.9, they're locked. If you're on 5.10, they're read-only. A lot of places make one called discovery document. Hey, this is a discovery document, and that's why it's locked. A lot of places will make one called, read-only. So when they change it to that document type, it is now read-only. So the read-only one is the one I've been using kind of for demonstration. So when a document is put into your filing cabinet as a read-only document type, it becomes read-only, and therefore you can put it in a discovery packet. So let's create a discovery packet together now that we have our prerequisites in place. We've got a file packet and we've got our read-only document type. So I'm going to do a search for Loki. Loki's who I've been using. He's a criminal. Alright, so there is a view called Discovery Packets. If you don't have that view available, you need to make it available through system administration, through your security profiles. This Discovery Packet view is where you can go to make discovery. Okay, that's why it's called Discovery Packets. If you don't want to be jumping between views, we have made views where discovery is in line with all of your other stuff. So you can go to your filing cabinet and you can go to your discovery all in one view. So don't think that you have to have multiple views for your users jumping back and forth between discovery and their case. For this demonstration, I'm using the Discovery Packets view because that's probably what most of you will start off using. And then in the future, if you want to incorporate that into your canned view, or your, not canned view, a custom view, we can do that pretty easily. So I'm going to open this in our Discovery Packets view. So for our last presentation, we've actually already been creating discovery. I guess what I'll do is I'll delete these, see if it lets me. I'm pretty sure it'll let me. Gives me a nice error because you're deleting discovery, so it's telling you you're getting rid of all that history. We'll go over this in a second. I just want to have a clean slate to start out with if it lets me. I hope I didn't take any payments, that might not let me. Oh, this is our first save. This is what I was worried about. Yep, the long save, the one that wakes up my server. I should have done this before, because then it would have done a wake. So while we're talking about this, let's talk about, so we have the JustWeb side, where you create the discovery. So you create documents in your filing cabinet, and then you make those documents available. So I guess I should go to my filing cabinet first, so we can show what documents I have in my filing cabinet. You can make those documents available to put in discovery packets. And this is available even without JusticeWeb. So those of you who raised their hands saying they don't have JusticeWeb, you can make discovery packets without JusticeWeb. And then you can send those off, via email or however you want to manage that discovery, which then gets, somewhat complicated. Depends on what your workflows are in your office, keeping track of when discovery was sent. You can use correspondence for that, or however you're tracking big documents being sent. Is anyone sending discovery out of the Juster filing cabinet right now? No? All right.
There's some discovery in there.
Spokane does.
Okay. Sweet. Oh, I'm kicking myself. The same thing happened yesterday. First save always takes forever. The reason it does this is because we have like 10 instances of JustWeb running on one server, so it puts to sleep the ones that aren't being used. Then it has to wake them up when they are being used. If any of you run into this frequently especially in your training environments, there is a way to set your server to not let it sleep. So that just depends on if you want to let it or not let it sleep. Because it's using resources if it's awake. So depends on if you want your resources to be taken or not. Yay, it's done. All right, let's go to the filing cabinet first. So this is our discovery packets view where we create discovery. I'm going to go to my filing cabinet, and you can see in this view, I named one called tabbed discovery. We have that same discovery packet snap in. So we have our filing cabinet here, and we have our discovery packet creation over here. So we don't have to switch views to create discovery. I'm going to do it though, so that you can see what it's going to be like when you get back to your office. I've got documents in my filing cabinet. Let's delete these documents so I can demonstrate everything. Good old Loki. See how fast it goes once it's awake. Alright, so let's add a file. Let's add Loki's photo back in here. So here's Loki. When it comes through, it's going to come through as an unknown document. So if I hit save, now we have the unknown document in here. Good old Loki's got his awesome preview over here. It's an unknown document. Can I make a discovery packet with this document currently? No, I cannot. If I try to make a discovery packet, it's not going to be in my file selection because it is not read-only. So that's why I like, when I am making documents, I like to have a document type of read-only or discovery document. So when you're ready to make documents discoverable, the workflow would be make sure it's marked as discovery document or marked as read-only, so that you know this document can now be put in a discovery packet. So I'm going to save this now that it's read-only. Gives me a nice error here, not error, nice prompt up here saying it's read-only. I'm used to seeing yellow errors, huh? So let's switch to our discovery packet view now. So we have a document, it's read-only. Now we want to create a discovery packet. These snap-ins here to the left are the only ones you need if you don't have JusticeWeb. If you have JusticeWeb, we'll talk more about what these ones then provide you through JusticeWeb. Do you remember where this list is populating from? We saw this a little bit ago. It's our code tables. So this is one of the prerequisites. This is where we set up the folder that we're putting our documents into. So we've set up a discovery packet folder and a medical packet folder. That's the document type of 5. Is it document type? Or just type of 5. So here's our 2 types. That's where it's populating from. So I'm going to make a discovery packet. I'm going to call it Loki. And I'm just going to leave it uncompressed. We'll talk about compression and all that in a second. Down below, so before I hit save, I actually need to select what documents I put in here. If I click down here below, it populates all of my read-only documents. So it would also populate that discovery document if it was in there down here below. So if your documents don't show up down here below when you're creating a discovery packet, what does that mean? Hey, that was like in some good unison, you guys. That's some good work. So I'm going to select this, put this in my discovery packet. We're going to talk about this authorized names in a second. This has a lot to do, or this has to do with JusticeWeb. So if you are using this outside of JusticeWeb, these are pretty much your options here, file selection and what your options are up here at the top. If I hit save, what it's doing now is it's creating me a discovery packet. So now it's created a Loki discovery packet. That's the title I gave it, and it put this document in there. If I go back to my filing cabinet, back to my tab to discovery view, hey, look, I've got a new file in here. It's called Loki.zip. So it actually made a folder for me. It stuck the files in that folder. And if I don't have JusticeWeb, I can actually just email this off. So if I want to email this, I can right-click, say email. It's going to have to open my Outlook, so we'll see how long that takes. But it'll let you can email it right away from your filing cabinet. So here's an Outlook. It's created me an email here. It put my attachment in here for me, and it populated my case title. So I can take that case title out if I want. So this is all just creating discovery in JustWare. So we've created discovery. From here, if you don't have JusticeWeb, now you need to come up with your workflow of now how are we going to manage this discovery packet. Are we going to involve names? Are we going to track it in our correspondence? How are we tracking this discovery? Of course, this class is about JusticeWeb, so we're going to take it to the next step in how to make this available through JusticeWeb. In JusticeWeb, we have requests. The best way to think about a request is a button. So whenever you hear me say a request in JusticeWeb, just think buttons. So when you see a button here, button, button, ooh, this one just says request instead of request account. So some of us have taken a word off of here. It's all configurable. These buttons are configurable. These are requests. We need to tie our discovery to a request in JusticeWeb. So I'm going to sign in to JusticeWeb. Here's Loki. So I've got Loki's case here. Notice I don't have any downloads on this case that I can currently work with. There's downloads on Scooby-Doo's case. Ooh, bonus Scooby snack? I guess I'm supposed to say Scooby snack. We have a lot of fun with these test environments. Is that you, Ben? Did you do that?
You're the one who can't spell.
That's true. Oklahoma? Did I spell
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma? For our training out there, the test environment I was using for training, it all just said Oklahoma the whole time. But I spelled it wrong. So that was great. That's some good street cred. This is my generation. Everything is spell check. So the reason it's not showing here is because we have not tied that discovery to a request. So we have a bunch of requests in here. You'll learn a lot about requests in e-filing and e-payments, and I'll go through just briefly how the discovery request works. So all these buttons are configurable. When you click on a button, there's a page that comes up, and this is configurable as well. So what do you want the button to do? That is a page. So let's look in JusticeWeb at how to configure this. Under Administrative Tools, if you have JusticeWeb installed, JusticeWeb Administration will show as an option. So if you get back to your office and you're beating your brain, why can't I administrate JusticeWeb? This will only show if you have JusticeWeb installed. I click on JusticeWeb, brings up JusticeWeb System Administration. A lot of options here. What we're going to talk about is request management, button management. I guess button sounds kind of weird for a word, so request is good. This is where we manage all of our requests. So we have, see look, account request. See someone took off. Let's make this request account. Let's fix that right now. Oops, if I can type. I'm going to save that. Now if we come back here and sign out, it'll say, request account! Hey, see how easy that was to fix? That wasn't so bad. So we have our descriptions, or what the button is called, and what type of button it is. So that was an account request. So that's basically an easy way to think about what these are, is where the button is going to show. Account request is going to show up where you request an account. Non-case specific is going to show not with cases. Case specific is going to show with cases. And then we've got our download request, which is what we're going to talk about together. Insert case request, e-filing, we're creating a case. Payment requests, making payments. So where are your buttons going to show? So I've created some download requests here. 3 of them. The reason why is because you can associate discovery with different requests depending on who you want to be able to download the discovery and how much you want them to pay, what you want their experience to be. So this goes back to involvement-based security. So if I am a police officer and I need to download a document off of a case, and we know that he is a police officer so he shouldn't have to pay, we can make a request button for him so when he downloads documents, it does not charge him because we've tied that with that request. Now we've got, JusticeWeb documents, JusticeWeb discovery, and remember these, you can come up with whatever you want. It's all configurable. You can call it whatever you want. Down below we have our page snap-in, and this is where you configure what page pops up when you click on the request. So when I have a JusticeWeb discovery request, when I click on that button or request, this is the page that gets displayed. And pages can get fun and complicated. Jed really goes into detail about making complicated pages in JusticeWeb. And that all has to do with your workflow. So what do you want them to do when they click the button? Are they submitting notes? Are they making payments? Are they adding involvements on cases? Are they, there's all sorts of stuff you can create in your pages. Under your page configuration, next to your request configuration is where your pages are listed. So I have linked this to a discovery download page. If I come to my page configuration and find that discovery download page, you can see what my page says. So I actually put together some verbiage. Well, I think I stole this from Yellowstone. Yellowstone put together some verbiage that I stole that says this is, you are authorizing you're basically consenting to our terms and conditions to download this document. So if you download this, you can't go post it on Facebook. So accepting terms and conditions. There's a lot of workflows that we see. Let's say when you log into JusticeWeb, you accept those terms and conditions. When you download a document, you are accepting terms and conditions, etc. So the only thing that I have put as a page on my download request is you have to accept the terms and conditions if you are downloading. So now we have a request made. We've got a couple requests made. If we come back to our, let's go back to our discovery packets view. I'm going to switch views here. Even though I could do it on that view, we're going to use this canned one. And we're going to talk about these fields now. Request type. Hey, didn't we just see those a second ago? So you're actually tying now your discovery packet to a request type. So is this Loki packet a free packet? Is it a JusticeWeb discovery packet? Is it an online documents packet? And I can't remember why I created this one. At some point I did. So JusticeWeb discovery has been kind of our all-in-one that I've created for this demonstration. Most places I've seen, so when we implemented discovery in Boise, they only had one discovery packet type, one request type. So when they created their discovery, and they hit the plus key here, everything pre-populated pretty much except for the name, because they knew what the types were going to be. They knew already what they wanted the activation date and expiration date to be. So a lot of this can be pre-populated. Activation date means when can they download this? Can they download this immediately? Can they download this in a week? And when is it expired? Do you want to stop it from being able to be downloaded after a certain period of time? Is it only available for 2 weeks? Like I mentioned, you can have this pre-populated or auto-populated, whatever you want to call it, so that when you create discovery, it automatically puts today as the activation date, and 2 weeks from today, an expiration date automatically gets populated.
Can I ask a question?
Heck yes, you can.
Can you create reports that count what type of discovery is requested by discovery type?
Yes.
If you create a separate discovery type?
Yep, so that's the point.
Of creating separate discovery
Mm-hmm.
types?
Yep, so there's all sorts of reporting you can do, obviously based off of your discovery. Great question, and I didn't have to tell him to shut up, so that's good. Yeah. That could have gone ugly. I know everyone missed it, but I said if you bring up something that I'm going to teach in the future, I'm going to tell you to shut up. I know, dodged the bullet there. Could have gotten monsters. All right. So you have to have an activation date in order for it to show up on JusticeWeb. If it's not active, then it won't show. So you need to link it to a button, and you need to link it to an activation date. Let's talk about, and I'm not going to make it expired, but you could make it expired if you want. This key is associated with compression. So if you want to make this, and I don't think I can change this because it's already created. If you want to make this encrypted, you have a bunch of encryption types, and you can get it then generates a key to de-encrypt or a password, however you want to look at it, to get the information out of that packet. It adds another layer of security, and I'll show that. Let's actually create a new packet right now, so I can show you what that key looks like. So we'll call this password needed. Sure. We'll encrypt it. AES 256 tends to be the most common, popular one I've seen people use because that is like very encrypted. The NSA would probably have to like stick it in their supercomputer for a day or hours. I don't know. They've got crazy computers now to break that encryption. They can. It'll just take a lot of computing power. Let's link it to a request type. So I'm going to make this one our JusticeWeb discovery. Let's make it active now. Let's not worry about expiration. We'll put the same file in there. Put his photo in there, read-only document. Authorized names. Authorized names is who is authorized to download this discovery through JusticeWeb. Because JusticeWeb is involvement-based, you don't have to authorize them in advance. That means that you don't have to come in here every time you create discovery and say, this prosecuting attorney is authorized to download it, who is authorized to download it. Because of their involvement as a prosecuting attorney, they are already technically, they're not already authorized, but they already have the option to download the discovery. So that'll make sense in just a second. I'm going to hit save. It creates our discovery packet. Hey look, we've got our wonderful, easy to remember key. It's active now. We don't have any authorized names. Let's come and look at Loki's case. I'll sign back in here. One of the nicest things about JusticeWeb is, as you've seen, they've made it very configurable. And they've made it easy to configure, so you don't have to feel like you have to be like a computer programmer to manage a web page. The web page is easily managed. You can change text, add buttons, all very easily without a lot of background knowledge of how websites work. Hey, so look, we have a download now. Notice it says I have to pay $2. We'll talk about document pricing after we finish this little section here. So the password needed zip, $2 input required. If I pay the $2, so there's our page, when we click on the button, so it's using that JusticeWeb discovery request, the page that we set up when we click the button or request. It adds the cost down here below. So this one costs $2 to download. If I pay for this discovery, then it will authorize me to download this. Now since I don't have that payment information pulled up, I'm going to skip this. And what it'll do is it'll set it as pending, which means the payment wasn't complete, but someone tried to make a payment, or at least hit that point in the process. So it's pending, ready to be downloaded as soon as the pending is taken off. The reason they have a pending status is sometimes you can submit a payment, and that payment will still be pending, depending on the payment provider, when it's finished processing, etc. So whatever you've set up with the payment providers, we've got 2 of them. Mercury Payments and Plug and Pay currently work really easily with JusticeWeb.
I have a question.
Yeah.
When you have case involved, say you have the defendant's attorney, but you also have victims and witnesses, but you don't want the victims or witnesses to access the police report, can you not involve them in that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I almost told you to shut up.
I was worried.
Because we're right there. So that's right on topic. Dodged a bullet. All right, so this one is pending. If I come back into JustWare, and I hit refresh here, our password needed discovery packet, notice it populated me in here as an authorized name. It says I am pending for $2. If I take that pending off, that means that I have paid. So I'm just going to say that's no longer pending, the payment cleared. And if I come back to JustWeb, geez, I'm going to get these confused over and over again. Now I can download it. So let's download it. I'm going to save this to my desktop. And let's see how Windows handles it. So since this one is password required, if we didn't encrypt this, Windows can handle it out the box. You don't have to do anything special with Windows. It can handle zip files, except when it's encrypted. So let's see how Windows handles it. So we've got our password needed packet here. I can double click and I can open it so you can see what's inside. I can try to drag it out. It's going to say, hey, you already have one of those. Sure, copy and replace. It's going to say, oh, wait, you can't do this. There's an unspecified error. So Windows doesn't even tell you in this error that it's password protected, and yet right here it tells you it's password protected. So it is password protected. It knows it's password protected, but it doesn't ask you for the password. So that requires a third-party program. There's a couple free ones out there. WinRAR is very popular and common. 7-Zip is very popular and common. All free programs that you can use for zip files. So if I try to extract this with WinRAR, I think is what this one is. It's going to ask me to replace it again. Sure, I'll replace it. It's going to ask me for a password. So it knows this one needs a password. So then I can take the password off of JusticeWeb and use that to get my file. So what security then does this give me? You know, I'm already in JusticeWeb, I have the key. So JusticeWeb is secure. It always uses HTTPS whenever it's deployed, which means the same security that your banks and all secure websites are using. Certificate-based security, which means hopefully it's not ever compromised. So this adds another layer of security where I am at my friend's house and I decide to download Discovery onto his desktop, and then I put that on my flash drive and I forget to delete this off of his desktop. And he tries to get in there. Oh, what was he working on? You know, someone tries to access this file. He can't because he doesn't have the key from JusticeWeb. So if these files for some reason make their way outside of JusticeWeb onto a flash drive, on someone's computer, they still can't be opened without that key. And that depends on if you guys want that added layer of security. I think most people I've implemented haven't added that extra layer. They just put that clause in there saying, if you're downloading this, don't be dumb. You know, you're in charge of your own fate here with where this discovery goes. So that's how the keys work here, and that's how we authorized ourselves. If that didn't cost any money, so let's say we didn't have to pay $2. We would still have to authorize ourselves by accepting those terms. If I was pre-authorized, someone added me as an authorized person, then I would never have to go through that page to authorize myself. It would just say, you can download it right now. So let's say someone has to pay money for Discovery, they have a valid reason for not needing to pay. Someone's pro se, and for some reason they're not supposed to pay for Discovery, and it's showing for them that they have to pay. You can authorize them to not have to pay in JustWare, and then they can just hop on and download it because they are authorized. So you can either authorize them directly or they can authorize themselves. This goes back to your question then. How do we then separate Discovery based on involvements? This comes down to involvement-based security. So the reason we have different types here, different requests I should say, is because we can separate by this permission snap-in who has access to what request. So notice free files, everyone has access currently right now to free files. I could say only police officers have access to free files. So when I create my discovery and I link it to free files, the police officers will see that. Only police officers will see that file to download because it's linked to that request, and that request is only seen by police officers in JusticeWeb. And you can link it all that way based on involvements. So then we have JusticeWeb Discovery here. Right now everyone can see JusticeWeb Discovery. I can say I only want prosecuting attorneys to be able to see JusticeWeb Discovery. Let's actually say prosecuting attorneys can't see Discovery, so we can see it fall off my page there. So let's say only judges can see JusticeWeb Discovery. Yeah, that's not a normal use case. So I'm logged in, notice it says I'm the prosecuting attorney on this case. Excuse me. If I refresh, hey, I don't have a download anymore. The reason I don't have that download anymore is because of that request that is tied to that discovery. So because I am not involved as the judge, I cannot see that. If I scroll down, I think I'm involved. Jeez, excuse me. Here, I'm involved as a judge down here. I think I'm involved as like a stormtrooper somewhere. Oh, I'm involved as a police officer here. So notice, my work with the case options changed because I'm involved as a police officer. I can't put case notes on this case. I can't submit a document on this case. And I can pay $5, because that's going to happen, to request audio. It's all involvement-based. So a good use case is in the implementation we did in Yellowstone, where they have mom's discovery and dad's discovery on one case for child custody cases, I think is what they're doing. So what they do is they have two request types, one for mom's discovery and one for dad's discovery. And when they create the discovery packets, they make sure to link that with the correct request type. And they have those attorneys involved on the case as, you know, I don't even know what the legal terminology is, but mom's attorney or dad's attorney. So it's all involvement based. Have I said involvement based enough? It's all involvement based. All your bases belong to us. All right, so let's change that back so I can see that discovery again. Let's do all. Just in case someone out there in test environment land is wondering what's happened. No one should be messing with this. This is mine, but everyone messes with that. All right, so I've got my download back. Oh, and I'm on the other page, I think. Let's go back to the first page. There we go. Got my downloaders back again. So you can, so does that answer your question? So you can separate who can see what discoveries that are based on involvement. Great, I think that, oh, let's talk about document pricing rules. I bet that was just lingering on your minds. This one costs $2. How was that determined? Has anyone dealt with document pricing rules? Yes? No? Okay. The way you access document pricing rules is through system administration. In the same place we were before, except instead of going to documents, you come to document pricing rules. Da 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 da. I'll let that sink in for a second. All right, so JD applications and documents, document pricing rules. What this allows you to do is create rules at the top and relate documents and involvements to those rules. This is the rule that was taking account for our $2 fee that we had. So think of this as I'm creating a new document price rule. We call this one the read-only document rule. And in this read-only document rule, it's $2 per unit. And these are the document types that are allowed in that rule. So we can see all of our document types. So we can say, let's say complaint documents can also be their $2 document. And then, is JusticeWeb involvement based or not? Hey, it's involvement based. Geez, I don't know how many times I'm going to say that. Because it's involvement based and I'm involved as a prosecuting attorney, that's why it said I have to pay $2. It looks at my involvement and it applies the appropriate rule based on my involvement on the case. So you could have a read-only document rule for prosecuting attorneys, a read-only document rule for pro se's, a read-only rule for police, whoever you want to share documents with, and depending on how your price structure is, there is a lot of flexibility with how the prices work.
Excuse me, can you do it per page?
Hey, that was what I was just about to say.
This is not for me, shut up.
Yeah, so that was, and this is what I forgot to teach last time, so I apologize for that last class. It was on the tip of my tongue and then I just couldn't get it out. I don't know what happened. So yes, so that's what the per unit is all about. So when we are creating our, where am I at here? When we are creating our package, we specify our units. It does not know how many units you have to specify. So it does not know this document has 5 pages. You have to look at the document and say this document has 5 pages. So it's unfortunate that way. The system has no way of knowing how many units your document has. You need to come up with what a unit is. Is it a page? Is it a, I don't know.
Can the system know how much size it is taking from the server?
Yes, it does. And it tells you right here.
So you could price it based on that?
You would have to figure that out. Yeah. So you have to say 1 unit is 1 megabyte, 2 units is 2 megabytes. And you can make a report that calculates that for you. So if you wanted a report, you could say how much would this be? You could set up a report that does the calculations automatically in the report. But there's currently no calculations on, I mean, that would just be a huge thing to try to build, I think, right now, to try to figure out everyone's use case for how they want to attach units to their pricing rules. But that's how it works. We've talked about that report a couple times, actually. We have one canned report already built called the Case Discovery Packet Details Report. You may have already seen this because, like I said, it's canned. It's out there. You probably have access to it, just haven't clicked that button before. What that button does is it loads a report, a canned report, that shows you all the discovery on the case and what's inside and what's happened with it. So notice this password needed one was downloaded by Jeremy. It started and was successful, exclamation point, downloading. If it wasn't successful, it would say download unsuccessful. This is one of the places you can see whether or not it was successful. Whenever we have implemented this, we always make some custom reports and customize this report depending on your workflows with online discovery. So what you want to see, who wants to see, whatever. This is a good place to start, where you can see I've got two, discovery packets here. This one's been downloaded, etc. It's got a lot of options as well. Hey, look, minimum packet size. So they even put that in there as well. Someone's thinking. So this is our document pricing rules. So how did this apply to our discovery for $2? The reason it applied that way is because we have one read-only document in our password needed packet. Recreate another one here. Actually, let's add another document first. I need to switch my view. Let's add my PowerPoint presentation, sure. Save. I've got my PowerPoint presentation. Is this available in my?
No.
No, it's not yet. Why is it not available in there yet? It's not read-only. Man, you guys are such a great class. So I'm going to call this one a discovery document instead of a read-only document. I can't remember what the pricing rules are. I think it's $5 right now for a discovery document. And it's $2 for a read-only document. So if I put both of those, let's do it over here. Why not? Just so you can see how much easier that is. We'll call this cost money. Hey, look, and this one actually was defaulted. So in my tab, I have this defaulted already. Let's put both of these in there. We've got a discovery document type and a read-only document type. We're just going to ignore the authorized names because the prosecuting attorney will authorize himself because he is able to see this request type. So let's refresh. We have our cost money packet and it's $7 because $2 for that read-only document, $5 for that discovery document. It puts that all together. What if you have a flat fee for discovery? Fancy, you should ask. Well, yeah. You can assign fees to requests. So if we go to our request management, just like you saw with that request audio is $5. If I come to my request audio button and scroll over to the right, you can see I've got a $5 fee associated with that, a base price. So if you are more base price, you pay per download, you don't pay per document, we just want a flat fee, $5, whatever. Instead of going through the process of trying to figure out how that's going to work with your document pricing rules, you can just say, this request itself is $5, not the documents, not the discovery, etc. All right, I think I've covered everything with discovery packets. Anyone have any questions about discovery packets before I move on?
On the bottom part, if you have it set where
Anyone
it's...
else? Oh, burn, man. Burn.
That
I haven't heard any heckling from you yet.
Oh, it's going to start.
Oh, okay.
If you have already discovered stuff, and so now your document status is discovered, can you write a business rule so it won't automatically add in, so you can do additional discovery without it automatically defaulting in?
Yeah, you can write all sorts of business rules with all
With
this
discovery
in mind.
packets?
So yeah, so we haven't really talked about what a good workflow may be. A workflow would be you create a discovery packet. It sends an email to the prosecuting attorney automatically. It says, you have a discovery packet on this case. It's now available to discover through your expiration date, whatever, and it gives them a link of how to get to JusticeWeb. They then click the link, they go to JusticeWeb to download it, etc. You can then make workflows based on the download, based on, you know, the whole workflow. We have one agency, I think it's Boise, it is Boise. They have their public defender's office where they have one person who's like the concierge of discovery for their office. And that's all she does is she downloads discovery for their office and distributes it. Distributes it. Wow, that's kind of weird. So the workflow we created for them, when she logs into JusticeWeb, she only sees cases with discovery that hasn't been downloaded yet. And the way that she sees that is she's involved on those cases, and they made a business rule that automatically involves her on those cases based on agency involvement, etc. So when they create a case, it automatically involves her based on the agency. She can then have access to that discovery. She downloads the discovery. When she's done with that case, she clicks another request that we created that says done with discovery. I can't remember what we labeled it, but because she submits that request, it then runs a business rule that removes the active checkbox off of her involvement so that she is no longer actively involved on the case, and then she can't see the case anymore when she logs into JusticeWeb. And then to make it even more fun, they put in another business rule that if more discovery is created, it checks that box again. So then it comes back up on her screen. So it sounds super complicated. If you wrote it on a whiteboard, it's like 4 steps, whatever. It's not overly complicated. It's like 2 business rules. The process is very easy to set up. But that workflow works really well for that public defender's office because they have one person who only wants to see cases that she needs to download discovery for. She downloads the one she wants. She removes herself as an involvement on the ones that she doesn't want to see anymore. Her screen is blank basically by the end of the day. No more cases. And then throughout the day she hits refresh. Cases start popping up. She starts downloading discovery. So there's so many options with business rules. You can make specific business rules just for JusticeWeb. You can make business rules that work for JustWare and JusticeWeb. So if someone submits a note in JustWare or someone submits a note in JusticeWeb, they both do the same thing, creating a document or sending an email or whatever. Great question. I'll never tell you not to talk again.
Sure. I'll hold you to that.
All right, so let's talk about online documents. So what's different then between a discovery document and an online document? Discovery has those prerequisites we've been talking about. It has to be read-only. It keeps track of, you know, all those aspects of just when downloaded. And I don't think online documents keeps track of all of that. So the whole purpose that they created online documents for was to offload the task of creating discovery packets. So instead of creating discovery packets all the time, you can make a process or a manual process of making just documents themselves instead of discovery packets available online. So if I have a file in my filing cabinet, instead of putting that file into a discovery packet, I just want to make that file available online to download. Hence, online documents. So how do we do that? There is a view called the Online Documents view. Just like the Discovery Packets view, looks somewhat similar. It's got our online documents up above. It's got our authorized names down below. So if I hit the plus here, I can then select a document from my filing cabinet. Let's select our read-only photo here. We link it to a request, just like we do with the Discovery Packet. So let's say this is a JusticeWeb discovery, because we know that goes to prosecuting attorneys. And then we can have them either authorize themselves, or we can authorize them. So I made that available now as an online document. If I come to my downloads here, I now have a $2 photo available to download. So photo.jpg is now available to download. I've even created a discovery packet. So this does step outside of the realm of discovery. So this is not a replacement for discovery. This is just another option if you want to make specific documents available and not go through that whole workflow of making a discovery packet. So how does this even get more cool, cooler, awesomer, is there is an automated process for this. The whole reason they made this is they wanted this to be automated. So instead of you manually coming in here and adding rows in here, there is a business rule result. Yeah, I know some people just went to business rules, so you are pros at this, right? You guys are just like filing cabinet. I want that document to be available online, through online documents. So that means as soon as you create the document is available for them to download online. How does that work? Well, let's look at the result here. We have the online document result. So you basically pass the document that you want through your business rule into this result, and you tie it to a request. So it automatically ties that document that you pass into a request. So you can have, like I said, sky's the limit. Another option would be, let's say we have a case status of discoverable. When I change the case status to discoverable, I want all document types of read-only to be available online. Or I want any document that has the category of photos. So you don't even have to link it to document type. It doesn't have to be read-only. Remember, we don't have that as a prerequisite. So you can then make it based off of tons of anything that you want to make available online. This kind of leads towards, like I said, police officers or people that just need access to documents. You're not charging them. You don't want to go through the process of making a discovery package so that they can then download it. You can make those documents available quick and easy through JusticeWeb. You can make a request type just for them so that they only see those documents to be downloaded. And it's all automatic. Automatedly. Amazing. And you saw that it works with document pricing rules, so you can still charge, it can still automatically calculate those costs for you. Any questions about online documents? Pretty easy peasy. So that kind of concludes our e-discovery online documents portion. We're now going to move kind of into the e-view portion, which is actually pretty quick and easy, so we make it out a little early. Go eat some Dickies. Is that what we're having for lunch?
Yeah.
Heck yes. Dickies bar.
Just don't drink the iced tea.
What's that?
Just don't drink the iced tea.
Oh yeah, did you read about that?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Someone had like, they mixed some chemical in it.
It was lye.
Yeah.
It was that insulting.
Isn't that unfortunate that like everyone knows about that when, you know, like some person somewhere did that and now everyone knows about it. So we've talked about e-discovery, we've talked about it in JustWare, we've talked about it in JusticeWeb, how you create discovery in JustWare, how you can send that in JustWare, how you can then link that to requests, how those requests are in JusticeWeb. It's all involvement based, how to set your document pricing rules if you want to charge for discovery, how those rules coincide with involvements. And then we talked about online documents, which is another way of making downloads available through JusticeWeb. And I'm guessing that's why I made that online documents request type. Probably what that was for. You can have one, request for online and whatever. However your workflows are, 1,000 different ways to create that. So eView then, what is eView? When we talk about eView, we really talk about the things you see. So before I log into JusticeWeb, what do I see? I see all this text. What is JusticeWeb? This is all canned text. Some developer, someone, somewhere came up with this. This is all customizable. You can change what you want the logo to be at the top. You can change what you want all this text to be. You're on your own, and it's all HTML. So if you know anything about HTML, you can customize this. So let me just show you how easy that is. We come into our JusticeWeb System Administration. I'm going to go back here. In our server configuration, and this is where we can customize what our HTML is. So I'm going to scroll down. Here's our web content. It's all blank because it's all canned. So if you know HTML, what I typically recommend is use whatever editor you use for HTML. If it's just Notepad, that's fine. I use Notepad++. W3 Schools, anyone ever used that or been there before? It's got tons of resources. It even has ways, actually let me plug them real quick, why not? If you're thinking, oh no, I don't know HTML and I'm going to be awful and this isn't going to work for me, W3 Schools. I don't know. There you go. W3schools.com. My browser here is taking its sweet time. I ran a speed test yesterday, and it was like crazy fast. Like 500 megabits per second fast. There we go. Educate yourself. What do you want to learn? You want to learn HTML? Yeah, that's what I want to learn. Here's some examples. They've got tons and tons of examples. Try it yourself. This is the best. Because then you can click on try it yourself. My first heading, my first paragraph. You then come over here and you can be like, how does this work? Hello, world. Submit. Hey, here's how it shows up. You can then come and say, this looks great. I want it to look that way in JusticeWeb. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to come into JusticeWeb. I'm going to paste it. Hit OK. I'm going to hit save. Now I'm going to come into JusticeWeb and hit refresh. Hello world, my first paragraph. You know, like it keeps, notice it did apply some formatting. There are ways around that if you don't want the colors to be the same, etc. But it's all HTML, and people get very creative with their pages. How they, I know Boise had a couple resources like a blood alcohol website that people would go to see blood alcohol levels in defendants or something. And instead of giving them like 5 links to people saying, you go here for this and you go here for this, they just made a web page here on the start screen, and they have links on here. They made it look all pretty and nice. You click here if you want to go to see the blood alcohol. You click here if you want to do this, and then you sign in here if you want to download Discovery, etc. So this is a big part of eView. You've got the text on the right here, sidebar text. You can just say bold, I guess. I think that's bold. Hi, over here.
So what website did you go to?
W3 Schools. I don't know where that name came from, but maybe www, they just joined it to W to the 3 to the 3rd. Hi over here. So you can customize a lot of this. If you're like super administrator and you're like, once a week I'm going to post events or whatever, you know, you can come up with some workflow where every Monday you come in and change what events you want in here and make it quick and easy to put, you know, to change. So not hard, easy to do. If it's blank, it goes back to our wonderful canned goodness. Welcome to JusticeWeb. What is JusticeWeb? Etc. We've had people keep some text, move other text out. You know, some of it's helpful, some of it's not helpful. Another big part of eView is reports. Kim's like, yes, finally, this is the part that I wanted to see. In JusticeWeb, you can link any report in JustWare to JusticeWeb. I hope that puts a red flag up in the air. Oh no, what? Every report? Yes, any report that's in JustWare you can link to JusticeWeb. That means that if you have reports in JustWare that have confidential information, be careful. Don't make that information available through JusticeWeb by accidentally making that report available. What I would recommend is if you are going to make reports available through JusticeWeb, especially publicly available, so we have this button and we're not even signed in, so we call this public reports. And I can't remember why I put this one here. But we have, here are some reports. You know, that text is customizable. These buttons are customizable. And these buttons are reports on that you've created for JusticeWeb, and I'll show you in just a second. So you have public reports and you have private reports. Private reports show when you log in. So if I sign in now, I had 3. Oops. And I click on reports now, I now have 5. Because I'm signed in, I can access these private reports. So you can make them based on security. You know that only these people sign in and they can see these reports. There are also case-specific reports. So if I look on my active cases, again, e-viewing means what can you see on a case. If you click on the case, notice that's a hyperlink. You actually have a bunch of options just with that case. Here's some case details. Here's some requests I can do on this case. Here's the downloads I have, and here's my download history. And here's my case reports. These case reports are the only reports that are involvement based. So notice I have 2 reports on here. I don't have a third one. The case summary is not showing for me because I am a prosecuting attorney. We'll change that in just a second. So 3 types of reports. Public reports, you don't have to sign in. Private reports, which means you have to sign in. And case-specific reports, which you can actually assign involvement-based security. Let me show you how to link these in JusticeWeb. I don't know how many times I'm going to do that, probably 10 more. So when you come to JusticeWeb System Administration, you have report management. These are all the reports that we have available right now through JusticeWeb. You may have seen most of these. So here, notice we've got public, private, case-specific. Those are the only 3 types you have. Now, the case-specific ones are the only ones you can make involvement-based. So if I switch to permissions up here at the top, you'll see these 5 ones again that are case-specific, and now you can say who can see what. So case summary can only be seen by the judge right now. I want prosecuting attorneys to also access the case summary report. Hit save. Now the case summary can be accessed by prosecuting attorneys, which is me. So if I come back to this case and hit refresh, come to my reports. Notice my mouse keeps jumping all over. Now I can see the case summary. These other ones, though, are not involvement-based because they are not on a case. So how does it know what your involvement is? The way to add reports is very easy. So let's just add a random one. I keep adding just really random ones on here. We'll call this another report. So click me. Whatever you want to call that. Link. We click the little magnifying glass. It goes out to your report server that JustWare is pointed to, and it loads in all the cases. So, hey, you've probably seen this before in your system reports. You pick the one you want, so we'll pick a name report. And we will do, we already have case involvements. Financial name summary? Sure. I don't think we have selected that one yet. Financial name summary, and we'll say that this is just a private report. Now, we haven't talked about this column before, and you may have seen it in requests. You can set up multiple URLs for one JustWare deployment. So what does that mean? You may have a deployment of JusticeWeb for your police officers, and you may have a deployment of JusticeWeb for prosecuting attorneys. And that also lets you separate out, based on the URL they are accessing, what reports they are seeing. So in this instance, if I say URL 1 or URL 2, I can then segregate based on which website they're hitting, what reports they're seeing, and what requests are available. So you have that option as well to have multiple URLs, multiple JusticeWeb configurations for one instance of JustWare. That gets more complicated, but in some cases, people want to have a reports-only URL and then a prosecutor's downloaded discovery URL. So I made this a private report. I'm going to hit save. We now have another report, so click me. If I come to my, let's go back to active cases, and then click on reports here. Here's another report, so click me. So there's a couple cool things that you can also do with reports in JusticeWeb. Who knows what report parameters are? By a show of hands, raise them up high. Report parameters. I bet you know what they are, you just don't know what that term is. So when you are in JustWare and you run your advanced case search, all of the options at the top, and this one's probably the biggest, that's why I selected it. These are all of your parameters. If you run that same one in JustWare, excuse me, in JusticeWeb, I just told you 10 more times. Yeah, 9 more times. Those same parameters are here. It runs just like it does in JusticeWeb, and you have the same export options, save as, export as, PDF, etc. With those parameters, just like with a case in JusticeWeb, it automatically passes in parameters for you, and you may not even notice that. So when you're looking at a case and there's a case summary report, it's automatically passing in, without you even knowing, the case ID. And it's running that report based on that case ID. If I access this case summary and I'm not on the case, let's go to our system reports, let's go to our case reports, let's go to our case reports, let's go to our and then let's go to our case summary. It's now going to ask for my case ID. Because I'm not on a case, it can't automatically hand that over for me. There are specific parameters that JusticeWeb will hand over for you automatically. The name ID is one, and the case ID is another one. If I am looking at public reports, no, private reports, I gotta get that right. If you're looking at private reports, it will hand over the name ID of the person who is logged in to JusticeWeb. So, if I want to see case involvements, it's going to say, who is Jeremy, what is his name ID? And it is going to run the report without showing that name ID parameter. It's going to automatically fill it for me, and it's going to run my report for me. So it handles that automatically. What is it? So this gives you another option if you want to make reports available. You can write your report in a way, again, the red flag, what information you want available. You can write your report in a way where you can say, I only want this specific report to run for people who have a name type of judge or name type of whatever, so that someone else runs this report or they have access to this report, they run it, it throws an error at the top saying you are not involved as a whatever on this case. So instead of doing the to URL route, if that's too complicated, you can make the report specific to just certain users based on who they are, because it will automatically pass through that name ID for you. If you want to know what reports have what parameters, system reports is the best way because it never fills those parameters for you automatically. Case ID, case reports all have that case ID parameter in there that get handed automatically. I bet you can't guess what parameter gets handed into name reports. Name ID, exactly. So if I try to run the name summary here, it's going to ask me what my name ID is. Now, I think I have the name summary out here, maybe, already. Look and see. Nope, I don't. I didn't make that one available. So we could make the name summary available if we wanted. It would just plug in that name ID for you. So if I run a case report, it's going to plug in the case ID as well, automatically. So you can write your reports knowing that JusticeWeb is going to hand those parameters in, and you can actually write the report then based on that parameter to then show in a specific way for specific people, which is kind of cool. It gets a little bit complicated, but again, very configurable. Any questions about reports? How that works through JusticeWeb? Well, I'll take your silence as I did an amazing job. And on the public side, so if I sign out again, there are no parameters being automatically handed through. So that's why I think I did this case ID case summary. Now I remember. If you made a case summary available publicly, they'd have to know the case ID because it's not automatically being handed to it. So I think Loki's 14-16. This would be like one of those red flag reports. You know, I don't know why you never make a case summary available publicly for people to then just mine data out of.
Yeah.
But that's, you know, that's how those parameters are working. So they're hidden because they're automatically handed in those scenarios. That's all I have. So feel free to ask me other questions if you've just been holding off. So what we covered then real quick is e-discovery, online documents, and e-view, which covers basically information you want to make available either through your website, HTML, through your reports, etc. So awesome. And then if you're still interested, Jed is teaching e-payments and e-filing, and he goes in depth into how to create requests and pages and you'll see how fun and easy that is. It's actually, anytime I've done any implementations of JusticeWeb, we start down on one road, we're going to implement just discovery, and then suddenly, oh my gosh, there's so much we can do. Let's also, it always grows because there's so much you can do. All right, thanks you guys.